stretch, and Rock Your World hugs the rail, leads it by 2 lengths still. Dream Shake on the outside, Medina Spirit trying hard. It's Rock Your World in command. Medina Spirit making no progress, and it's going to be Rock Your World to take them all the way in the Run Happy Santa Anita Derby. He's undefeated and wins by 4.
Welcome back to Kentucky Derby Power 5 here on Racing Rundown. We just recently wrapped up the Kentucky Oaks with the overall top 5 with all the prep seasons over. We still got one more week of Derby prep, so this is not the final Power 5 of the Kentucky Derby Trail, but this is recapping just hours after the major prep races on April 3rd, 3 100-point prep races, and usually something that these races do is they make the Kentucky Derby a lot more clear, but this is a rare example of that this year's races not being the case of that. I feel myself personally that the Kentucky Derby is more ambiguous now after this weekend than it was before this weekend, but that means that it's going to be an even more fun, even more deep Kentucky Derby, which is always a good thing. Fun, deep Kentucky Derbies are the best kind of Kentucky Derbies. So, as usual, we're going to go from 5 to 1 and talk about the top 5 performers from this past weekend, and then finish it off with the updated overall top 5 toward the Kentucky Derby big picture with all the horses that have run as of now. And we're going to start with the number 5 horse, Medina Spirit. Another second-place finish for him in these stakes races. Medina Spirit's not a bad horse, but he's not a horse who's going to win one of these races where there's a big name in it. And, you know, he was expected by a lot of people to win this race. That's why he was 4 to 5 when the race went off. But, you know, looking at him in his 2 races against Life is Good, he was never better than Life is Good. And his wins have come when he's gotten away from some of the big names. And Rock Your World is a name that a lot of people are probably going to be puzzled with just because he had been running on grass pre-Santa Anita Derby. And John Souther talked about how that was to get away from the superstar Bob Baffert horses like Life is Good, and you know that he believed that this horse was going to be a dirt horse. It obviously showed. He won by 4 1/4 lengths. It was the most impressive visually race this past weekend, April 3rd, and you know Rock Your World's a real horse for the Kentucky Derby. Medina Spirit, like I mentioned, very much well beaten. You know, he's not bad, but I don't think he's a Derby horse. He's probably going to be, you know, the typical example. Bob Baffert usually brings multiple horses. One of them runs good and one of them runs eh. This is going to be his eh horse in the Kentucky Derby. And moving on to number 4. Number 4 is Bourbonic, the surprise winner of the Wood Memorial. Not only the surprise winner, this is actually the longest price horse ever in the history of the Wood Memorial, which I did not know. Also something which it is more believable than this being the longest price winner of the Wood Memorial. This is also Todd Pletcher's longest price winner ever, which is a crazy statistic, something that I believe a little bit more because of how talented Todd Pletcher has been as a trainer throughout his career. But at the end of the day, you know, this is the perfect example of random outsider horse blindsides in a race before the Kentucky Derby. Nobody in the world had Bourbonic in this race. I even wrote him off as the usual example of Brad Kelly running a horse in a prep race or in these big races just to have a runner. And, you know, Todd Pletcher sounded like he was pretty surprised about this, and I think the entire racing industry is surprised by this because nothing on the chart said Bourbonic was going to win this race. He had been a winner 3 times, but those had been at the wins before the Wood Memorial, had been at the claiming level. So nothing really indicates that this horse is going to go on and win a graded stakes race, especially one that was as wide open as the Wood Memorial. But he came from very far out of it, very far back, blindsided everyone. Makes the Kentucky Derby picture a lot more fun because of the complete randomness and the fact that the Wood Memorial was really blown up. None of the favorites ran too well in this race, so really opens up the Kentucky Derby wide. But, you know, as far as Bourbonic, I don't know how far he's going to go on the Kentucky Derby trail. Pedigree looks really nice. He's by Bernardini out of an Fleet Alex mare, but, you know, didn't win outside of the claiming level before this race. And, you know, this kind of seems like one of those races where there's a big price horse that wins it and then never runs back up to that level again. But, you know, you can't completely dismiss him going forward to the Kentucky Derby. But this horse reminds me a lot of Trojan Nation from 2016, a horse who almost beat Outwork in the Wood Memorial, didn't quite get there, but was pretty similarly priced in that race. And I think Bourbonic's gonna be pretty similar to Trojan Nation in the Kentucky Derby.
And at number 3, we have the Bluegrass runner-up, Highly Motivated. This was a very game run from this colt. Certainly still improving, was highly touted as a 2-year-old last year, had his problems in the Gotham. The Gotham form wasn't too badly disgraced from the Wood Memorial. And I think the biggest thing is he got closer to essential quality than anybody else has. I mean, this was huge. And coming off the turn, honestly, I thought he might have just turned him away. But this was gritty nonetheless. He's clearly got a good fighting ability. Now we're talking about a horse here who has been on the lead and ran a really good race, and also come from off the pace and run a really good race. So lots to like about this colt. The biggest thing is going to be distance with him. Personally, I don't think I'm too worried about it, but I think a mile and a quarter is going to be 100% an upper limit for him with that pedigree. But the way he finished and galloped out in the Bluegrass today gives me indication he'll be able to get the mile and a quarter in Louisville. That being said, I also think another big thing, there's not a ton of pace that's really expected for this year's Derby, at least as things stand. So another feather in his cap that he'll be able to go to the lead and be near the lead in the Kentucky Derby and still be able to stick around. I think this is a horse who, Chad Brown doesn't send bad horses to the Derby. They always usually run well. There's one horse who didn't finish the race that kind of lowers the statistics there. But other than that, they always run extremely well. So highly motivated. I don't think he's necessarily a win contender for the Derby, given the quality of some of the winners of the final prep races. But that being said, I wouldn't consider him a total toss come the first Saturday in May. To number 2, another horse that's certainly going to be forwardly placed in the Derby, that is the undefeated Rock Your World. Now 3 for 3 for John Sadler. Just a huge effort beating the field that he did. I honestly think of the 3 preps we saw this weekend, this might have been the weakest field just coming out of it, because a lot of the horses that were in behind that top 4, certainly not that good. They ran to what they looked like on paper. And even then, Medina Spirit, Jack said it, probably not a top-level horse in this crop. So that's probably the biggest concern. But I think, look at this race alone. The fractions Rock Your World set and was able to sustain and finish with, that was huge. And he drew off one by 4 1/4 lengths. Clearly he's going to love the distance with that pedigree he has. I mean, it's all suggesting a mile and a quarter, even up to a mile and a half, is going to be right up his alley. So he's 100% the most intriguing horse, I would say, on this year's Derby Trail, because there's plenty of unknowns with him. Not like a lot of the prep winners we've seen to this point, who we've kind of known for a while, have the talent and are either kind of figuring it out or have already figured it out. This horse we know he knows what he's doing, and we know he likes the dirt, and he's going to like the distance. But is he a horse that can take the Derby field wire to wire and win it all, or is he just going to be a speed horse that fades? That's kind of the questions that people are going to try to figure out over the next coming weeks with Rock Your World. But 100% a deserving number 2 with that big win this weekend.
And the number 1 horse is Essential Quality coming out of this weekend. Again, it looked like for a moment that he was not going to get there in the race, and definitely did scare a lot of people who have a lot in Essential Quality. This is a very weird race because it's obvious that there's a visual regression between this race and the Southwest Stakes. That could be the fact that the Southwest was a bit of a lighter field than this was, but at the end of the day, this is a horse who has been running rather easily, and this is the first time that a horse has tested him and really fought back against him. He had to. It took him a while to get past Hot Rod Charlie in the Breeders' Cup, but that was never really in doubt. It just took the time to get there. But it looked like Highly Motivated was going to hold on at points in this race, and I thought coming off the turn that he was just going to blow him away. Did not happen. So that definitely makes the gap between Essential Quality and everyone else shallow. Certainly, this is not a case of it's Essential Quality and everybody else. It's Essential Quality and then a very small gap in between all the rest of the horses, and that makes the Kentucky Derby a lot more wide open. Certainly, you can't disrespect him. He's undefeated 5 for 5. Now he's shown that he can be tested, which is a positive thing. I don't want to make this all negative about Essential Quality because I've been a big proponent of his. So, you've shown that he can take a fight from another horse and still get past the horse. So good thing to say about him there. Good thing to say about him also is that he's just been so good throughout his career. He's handled the sloppy surface. So if it does decide to rain on Kentucky Derby Day, that's not going to be a problem for him. But he is not going to be a complete lock for the Kentucky Derby. And a lot of people, I think, thought so reasonably because Essential Quality looked really good pre-Bluegrass Stakes. This certainly tempers it a little bit on him, but he's still certainly a really high-level Kentucky Derby prospect, and it's going to be fun to watch him and all the rest of them run on Kentucky Derby Day. Getting to the overall top 5 from this past weekend, drawing from the other races, the overall top 5 is still top 2 are still the same from the past couple of weeks. Essential Quality and Concert Tour. Concert Tour will be running next weekend in the Arkansas Derby, so we'll see whether or not he's going to take over as the likely Derby favorite. I would say the only thing that would get him to favorite is if he American Pharaohs it in the Arkansas Derby, which is not out of the question, but I don't think it's the most likeliest scenario, but we'll obviously get to the Arkansas Derby when the field is drawn. So that's the 1-2. Known Agenda and Hot Rod Charlie are also going to stay in their respective positions 3 and 4, but like I mentioned already, this is a really tough gap between them. It's kind of like you could say all these horses are 1A, 1B, etc. There's not much that separates Hot Rod Charlie and Known Agenda, in our opinion. And to add number 5 into this, Rock Your World gets in here for the first time. He's a little bit unproven. He didn't beat much, but he did do it very impressively, and that was his first start on dirt. So he definitely deserves the recognition. But that being mentioned, there are many other horses that are going to be factors in the Kentucky Derby. Horses like Greatest Honor, who was so good early on in the year, dropped out because he didn't win the Florida Derby, but he's also one that's going to be in there. You're definitely going to have to consider some of the horses from the other prep races, like Highly Motivated, who didn't make this list also, as well as the horses from the Arkansas Derby if we get a good runner-up from there. So this is not exclusive, and this is not to say that the horses that didn't make this list are bad horses. But overall, this is what we have. We'll do one more update next weekend post-Arkansas Derby of what the top 5 horses, in our opinion, heading into the Kentucky Derby are. We're going to be doing what we did last year with Kentucky Derby profiles for every single starter. Those will start up following the conclusion of the Kentucky Derby prep season. So keep an eye out for those. We will have a preview of the Arkansas Derby coming up this weekend. So have a good one. Keep your eyes out for those things, and we'll see you next time.
To Hidden Stash, who swings wide in third. Here comes Essential Quality now, taking aim once again at Highly Motivated, who still has the lead coming into the final furlong of the Toyota Bluegrass. Highly Motivated with the advantage. Essential Quality is still driving at him from the outside past the 16th pole. Highly Motivated, Essential Quality, what a finish! The champ remains unbeaten.